day. Good life to my listeners. Today we're going to explore the journey of the Carbon Papers 2. In the journey, we're going to select two of the most important things that one could apply to one's life. In the journey, be like tools, like a carpenter with his hammer, like a tailor with his needle. We're going to use obedience and understanding. Obedience to what? To the laws of life. Understanding comes after the obedience. In understanding the laws of life, we find that in the structure of life, there is a mineral known as carbon. There is oxygen and there is hydrogen. That is known as the CHO arrangement. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Without these three players, there could be no life expression. This is chemistry. This is biochemistry. In the past 300 years, we have been listening, reading to things about things such as vitamins, protein, enzymes. Yet I found that very few people knows what these things are and what role they play in the human body. You know, it is like giving someone a toy and telling them that Santa Claus brought this toy. That's not the truth. So when we accept protein, vitamins, and enzymes as players in this life procession, then we are prepared to accept melanin. Remember what we said, and this could be investigated, that carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen are the main players in not only supporting life, but in the manifestation of life. You see, everything that is constructed by the universe, creation, or God, has the structure of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And it is starch-less. Whatever substance that is created by the universe is starch-less. We said melanin. Why? We use the word melanin because for the last 40 years, melanin is the buzzword in relating to health and nutrition or life itself, especially when it is referred to black people. Most black people tells me that melanin is what makes them black. There is nothing on the planet that is blacker than carbon. There is nothing on the planet that plays such an important role like carbon. Melanin appears nowhere. But like again, we accepted vitamins, enzymes, and protein. Well, why not accept melanin? In the carbon papers, things would be clear. Things would be afforded to you in a way that it would be very clear to balance it against another, whatever perspective. Clarity is what affords us sight. So in the carbon papers, we find that melanin, as alluded to by many, as being such an important mineral, or, yes, mineral, or substance. Some says it is a neurochemical substance. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am not a student of medicine, or neither am I a student of philosophy. Everything that I have done is based on life arrangement. Every word, every decision, every act has to complement life procession. In my understanding of life, melanin doesn't appear anywhere. But I am told, or I was told by some of the people that promotes it and write about it, I asked the young lady, if melanin is such an important substance, would it be intelligent for me to ask, where is it produced? Where do you find it in the human body? Oh, of course, very intelligently, she said, in the neurons of the central nerve system. I was really surprised. I have never been to school, whether kindergarten or college. This lady has a doctorate degree in probably neuropathology, in psychology, in whatever else. Making this statement so easy that it is produced in the neuron of the brain, of the nerve, then one has to question, what is it that science has afforded us? Because this statement is grossly inconsistent. The nervous system produces nothing. The nervous system is a conduit. It conveys resonance from the brain to each organ, to each system, to each cell. Without the brain, the heart would never beat. It is the electricity from the brain that afford the heart to pulsate. In turn, the heart supplies the brain with oxygen via the blood. The lungs purifies it. The central nerve system is to convey that resonance to point B. It produces nothing. Any production of hormones or chemicals in the body is produced by glands. It isn't produced by the central nerve system. The central nerve system is the carrier of resonance. But because we have to accept what the intelligentsia has afforded us, because we have no right to question. That right has been removed from us. When the statement was made in New York by the Usher Research Institute that carrots were a poison, everybody and their grandmother in New York jumped all over me. Of course they had to, because the source of their information was inconsistent with the progression of life. So now we have melanin that we have to deal with. Why? I don't know, because I have never even alluded to melanin. And ladies and gentlemen, the Usher Research Institute has cured AIDS, sickle cell, lupus, herpes, cancer, blindness, diabetes, leukemia, paralysis, and many, many others. Do we consider melanin? Well, all of those who think that melanin plays such an important role and have sought it, they wind up walking into our office later on because the energy that they expected to receive from such substance was not forthcoming. The other part of this thing is that those who promote melanin have difficulty in explaining what role does it play beside making you black. Well, the Chinese have little melanin. The Caucasian have little melanin. We have a whole lot. And this is what makes us black. But that is in contradiction with biochemistry. Black is carbon, not melanin. But since they are insisting, I have to ask some more questions. I was in a radio program by Mr. Jawanza in Washington, D.C. recently, and I was asked to share the program with Dr. Lilo Africa. I said, no, I don't think that I would like to do that. And they asked me why. I said, because there will be contradiction, and then we're going to confuse the listening audience. And I don't think that I want to do that, because after I read the research of Dr. Lilo Africa, I found that there was inconsistencies in his menu. And I didn't want to be the one to show those things. Well, Jawanza said, he insisted, he called back next day and said, we want you on the program to do precisely what you said exists. I'm embarrassed because I don't want to be the one that they would consider the judge. So Dr. Lilo Africa came on the program and he alluded to melanin. Oh, I said, well, I'm going to have to be very gentle, very understanding, and also compassionate, because I know that this man knows nothing about melanin. I know that to be a fact. How do I know? Listen carefully. As he goes on in his dissertation and he stopped, I said, Dr. Lilo Africa, you alluded to melanin as being the basis of life and color. He said, yes. I said, sir, whenever someone has been depleted of iron, the disease is anemia. And if they are heavily deficient or more deficient, you will come up with leukemia. When I'm suffering with rickets, there's calcium that has to be addressed. Bones have to be addressed with calcium. If my brain or when my brain is lacking of energy, well, again, we have to look at copper and carbon. But now that you have alluded to melanin, I want to know, when I find myself deficient, and I will, because minerals go through deficiency, absorbed and utilized with energy. You have to replace it, like you have to eat the food to replace iron, you have to eat the food to replace calcium. What foods do I eat to replace melanin? Those foods have been classified. I said, oh God, this is what is afforded to us as doctors. This is the black community. The cell that has been made sick is now submitting to inconsistencies. You know, like a woman that have lost her senses. When Dr. Lilo Africa made that statement, I was totally destroyed because I was hoping that he would have made a statement that was consistent with science, at least, or biology, or biochemistry. I was not too pleased because I want to hear something good. I'm not the only one that is supposed to be out there affording what I'm affording. I want there to be many that I could be at ease with myself because the load is heavy now. He said those foods has been classified. I said, by whom? Because if this food has been classified, we ought to know who classified them. Because we are the one at jeopardy. But no. That was not forthcoming because I knew that the man didn't know what he was talking about. Then I was asked just the following week to go on another program. This time, it is with Mr. Kweku Ando. Oh, my God, I didn't want to go on the program. Again, because I know that there are inconsistencies. Dr. Kweku Ando began to accuse me of a whole lot of things. Well, I expected that. Didn't matter. My position is not one that I designed for me, and it is not one that is based in science. It is based on that cosmic arrangement that never fails because it is consistent with life, which I will explain. Dr. Kweku Ando said that I go around telling people that they should not eat carrots and beans. That is the truth. Carrots were made in Holland. They aren't a product of nature or life or God. I am a product of nature and God and life. So therefore, my food should be from that same source, not from a machine they call a laboratory. Furthermore, if you have problems with carrots, because I made the statement, there are measures that you could use to know whether the substance is natural or unnatural. If a substance contains starch, rest assured it is unnatural, because starch is carbonic acid. It would eat you up. Dr. Kweku Ando, you said to me that cassava is an African product. I said, no, sir. He was angry at me because I made statements in Atlanta, Georgia, where he has his place, his laboratory. I told the people of Atlanta that cassava should not be consumed because it is a product that contains cyanide. Cyanide has the ability to change the images in front of your eyes and also your thinking pattern. But since no one in the health field in or out of Africa has done any research on foods that is being afforded to us. You see, the gorilla cannot eat the polar bear food, nor vice versa. When I asked Dr. Kweku Ando, are you saying that cassava is a natural product? He said, yes, and you were wrong. I said, thank you. I didn't have to say any more because I knew that if my brother, Dr. Ando, had done the research that was necessary to afford himself as a practitioner of health, he would not have made that statement. So, myself, it would have been abusive on my part if I had pursued the dialogue, because I already knew that my brother didn't know. The other part of the carbon paper we, the so-called black people, need to understand that the reason why we are not as pleased with ourselves first and then others is because we have yet to understand those things that were made specifically for this gene group. I said that the human body, being a replica of the universe and life expression, if one organ has been suppressed, the whole body would be sick. The heart, the lungs, the liver, whatever organ. We find today that because of clarity, we see that there is a cell that has been suppressed. That's the cell that I, Dr. Sebi, represent. And it is until this cell or this organ that is a member of the whole human race not given, but regain the freedom of expression and the freedom of giving, then and only then would peace be experienced internally and externally. Why? Look at history. Look at the example giving. We have been suppressed. And is it by chance that one of us has been selected to bring the healing of the world? That was what we were always about. That history, that story has not been told. What was happening in the forests of Africa millions and millions of years ago? That story has not been told. But as we begin to do that which the Bible recommends that we do, we will see everything. Honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be long on the land. Are we in compliance? The answer is no. Should we feel guilty? The answer is no. We, like everyone else, find ourselves just as angry as the lion, the cheetah, because the diet has been changed. The carbon papers intend to bring clarity and that we will be able to pursue this honoring thy mother and thy father. Ladies and gentlemen, I assure you that the very minute that you embark on such journey, stress and disease would immediately cease. Yes, this is the carbon paper too, linking with the cosmic procession, not regurgitating words. It is about clarity. Thank you very much. We will continue to show natural examples to substantiate our position. In every endeavor of life that one embarks, if that particular giving or endeavor that you're pursuing is one that supports life and addresses health, one has to be very extremely careful as to what you are affording to support this life. It's not like a tailor that cuts into a piece of material to sew a suit, or a shoemaker who will make a pair of shoes. If you make a mistake, the pair of shoes, that's okay. Make another. The tailor could cut the suit too short. Well, you sell it, make another. But in addressing the human body, one has to have the understanding that would aid us in delivering that which is being pursued, health, the cure of disease. It is asked of me Dr. Sebi, you alluded to understanding and obedience. Would you please elaborate on obedience? Of course. It is necessary. The first time that I was told that I was obedient, I was about 57 years of age. I went to visit a man named Mr. Roger from St. Vincent. He lived in New York. He was 94 years of age then. We talked for about 6 hours about many, many things and beautiful things. The man was born the same month with me. They call us Sagittarius. When I was leaving, going out the door, he said, Dr. Sebi, I want to say this. I have taken your product and I feel good and I enjoyed your conversation, but you know what I got from you? I said, no, sir. You are obedient. I looked at him. And I realized it was to be the first time that someone associated me with obedience. And it was a feeling that went through me that I never felt before, because my mother never said that to me, neither my grandmother. And my grandmother is at the center of my life. There's no philosopher, there are no books, there are no teachers, there are no leaders. The only leader and teacher I ever know is my grandmother. I never been to school, kindergarten or otherwise. Now this man has provoked something in me that I would like to say that it was a sensation that was pleasurable. It was more of like awareness. And it was frightening because when he said it, I felt that all my life. But I wanted to be now more so obedient because he said it. I said, thank you, thank you so very much. And I left. Obedient to what? I didn't have to ask Mr. Roger, obedient to what? Because he was a Sagittarius. He was just like me. He knew that I would know what he was talking about. Obedient to the laws of life, to that which is given to you. You know, as a little boy, I never been to school. I remember when my mother lived under the floor of a house, not on the apartment under the second floor or below. No, we lived under the floor in the dirt on burlap sacks. And I look out of the floor when it was raining that day, and I said that one day I was going to heal my mother. She was very sick. Now, why did I say that? I was only 5 years old. But I made a statement that came out of my mouth at that age that I'm living now. What did I do in the journey of life to be afforded that my mother no longer have the pain she used to have, and that I said that when I was 5. When I was 27 in New Orleans, 1960, I'm sitting in a barber chair on Claiborne Avenue with Timothy Cogman. And I said to him that I was going to do something for the black woman of the world. I said, because she's the one that has been disenfranchised, dejected, and rejected by everyone, including us. What that something was going to be, I didn't know. I was a merchant seaman then. Little did I know that I was going to be A healer? At 27, ladies and gentlemen, I was suffering with asthma, diabetes. I was impotent. I was angry. Very extremely angry. Later, I'm to understand in my research that my anger was precipitated because the oxygen that I was being deprived of, being asthmatic, made me neurotic. Had to. I'm being deprived of oxygen to my brain. There is instability. I find myself now affording myself to the world as a healer. And something came over me about 5 years ago and reminded me, but you're not totally in compliance, Dr. Sebi, because you said that you was going to do something for the black woman of the world, and now you're going to have to do that. So what did I do? It was easy for me. I turned it over to the sisters. They are the one that's curing AIDS now and sickle cell and all the other diseases, not me. They learn it, and they're doing it. I felt good. That was easy. Again, obedience showed up when I was working for the county. A steam engineer. The boy didn't go to school. He has a job as a steam engineer in 1970. You would think that he would be holding on to it because the boy is already 37. And he has a job as an engineer, making all that money. And one day, again come another voice. 2, you're going to quit your job and you're going to quit your wife. I quit my wife that I loved so very much, Marilyn Woods, and I quit my job that was the best thing I ever had. Why did I do that? I don't know why. I remember when I left Maryland, I cried. I cried 5 days. And in my crying, I said, well, if you cried, if you left her, why are you crying? Why don't you go back? But the voice inside said, you better not. Obedience to that voice from inside of you is what I'm talking about. But that voice that comes to us is denied because philosophy has taken over. Philosophy? Well, there is Benedict Spinoza on the improvement of the human understanding. When I picked that book up and I opened it, I didn't understand anything in this book. I thought that I was very stupid. Had to. After all, the boy didn't go to school. Benedict Spinoza is a philosopher. But look at his inconsistencies now. He said, on the improvement of the human understanding, how could your understanding be improved when you're eating hogs, potatoes, rice, and beans? So Benedict Spinoza just gave us a half-truth, or half of his thought, I suppose. I mean, I'm helping the man because he's the philosopher. On the improvement of the human understanding, and it is hog, meat that made the cows mad in England. What did they eat? Meat. So when Benedict Spinoza said, talk about the human understanding, he should have explained that meat and carbohydrates would really play havoc on you, and then you need improvement. But to improve it, you had to leave that stuff. That was not forthcoming. So, after all, I wasn't that stupid, isn't it? Mr. Benedict Spinoza. The other one was, even though I never felt that he, Benedict Spinoza, because he was a philosopher, that he was superior to anyone else, Benedict Spinoza afforded himself by nature, was afforded to us by nature to do just what an ant does or a crab. He has a duty. His was to talk. Mine is different. Mine is to afford healing. As I turn toward the philosophy of healing, because of the carbon papers, meaning the understanding that comes out of that perspective, I was able to see inconsistencies, not only in the allopathic, such as affording us the chemicals that are inorganic and carcinogenic. Why has this been afforded? Because of disobedience. Again, disobedience. You know what happened when you were disobedient to your parents? You get a little whipping, they call it, with a belt. I never got a whipping in my life. Disobedience to the laws of life, yes. Here it is. The allopathic isolates the active ingredients in the plants and then use that. But God made a plant with 102 minerals. When you isolate one, that's a poison. They call that a protoplasmic poison. The herbalist, oh, he just as guilty. The poor healers in America need help. Lots of help. The herbalists and alternative medicine need more help than the physician. Because the healers, the herbalists, are using peppermint, aloe vera, echinacea, golden seal, comfrey, garlic, and all these things are poison. You need help. They need help. They need love. They've been reading books. Life is not a product of a book. So why do we read books expecting to extrapolate from that book substance that is applicable to life? Something is wrong. So when I found that these things were poisonous, I spent and pondered much why things are so clear to me. Is it that I am treading on treacherous ground like Mr. Magoo and I'm totally unaware? Is it that I am insane and I am the... Insanity is something that is real. You could feel you could see a soul, you could feel a pain, but when you are insane, you are the last to know, because the images has changed gradually. I wanted to know if I was insane, because why things are so clear to me and not others? Why is it that I am so easy to change and to drop a previous understanding to something even better that is complementary? Oh, it happened to me. You see, being the little boy that I always am, and I like being that because I get away with things, I'm not serious. I don't have to be serious to know what I'm doing, isn't it? Well, in my embryonic stages of healing, I went to see Mrs. Holloman. Mrs. Holloman said, you know, the salve that you gave me, it made me feel very good. But what am I going to drink now? You said that you're going to afford me the best nutrition there ever been. I said, I want you to drink carrots juice, beets juice, celery juice. She said, hold it. Stop it. I said, yes, ma'am. I'm always obedient. I listen to every one of you. I like to listen. When I listen to you, I learn. She said, you want to be a healer? I said, yes, ma'am. I want to heal everything. She said, but you're not going to do it the way you're going. I said, why, ma'am? She said, because you're affording me things that are artificial. Why, ma'am? She said, you go and research, and you will find that all those things that were made. I didn't have to go too far, because when I came to Los Angeles, I don't know why I did this. I never been to school, but I went to the market training institution on the corner of Western and Hollywood Boulevard. Why did I do that? I had never been to school. I hate school. I don't like school. I don't like shoes. But now I'm in school. Why did I enroll in this market school? Did you know that when Mrs. Holloman told me that carrots were artificial and that beets were artificial, it took me straight back. It was a trigger that took me back to MTI, 1963. I learned in MTI that there are 33 varieties of cucumbers. There are 666 varieties of apples. There are about 33 varieties of rice. Potatoes, there are about 12 varieties of potatoes. And that these things could be grown twice a year. Then I begin to take it home. The things that God made produces fruit once a year. Not twice, not thrice. I immediately relinquished that old position because it was easy for me. I started to construct the edifice that I represent today. And did you know that I left Los Angeles in 1980 to come back to Los Angeles in the year 2002, and all of the healers in California are recommending peppermint, carrot juice, garlic, aloe vera. Is it that we get stuck it? We get jammed. We get corralled in a perspective, so much so that it becomes so difficult for us to relinquish the position? Or is it that when they entered the perspective to afford themselves as a healer, they didn't do the homework that was necessary? That is, to understand the cosmic procession. My return to California, Los Angeles, I already heard how people jump all over me, which is okay, because God has afforded me some very big shoulders. I could take on the load. The healers that were practicing the inconsistencies, 22 years later, they're doing the same thing. Ladies and gentlemen, cyanide is affecting our healers. Cyanide is affecting our preachers, our imam, our rabbi. I just had one yesterday. You would think that being a Muslim or being a Christian or being a rabbi in the Jewish faith, that one would be aware of the things that support and sustain life. Because if my religion and my philosophy is incomplete in the givings, then my life has been compromised because of this unawareness. So when the healers of today are told that Dr. Sebi says that carrot juice is bad, the healers, oh, he's just saying that because so and so and so and so and so. That's okay. I can understand that, because when you have been practicing for 20 or 30 plus years and some newcomer on the set tells you that you're not wrapped too tight, now there is antagonism, because you have to recognize that you've been wrong for 30 years. No, you don't have to take that position. That you've been misinformed. You have been misinformed for 30 years. This I find in Los Angeles. Every healer in Los Angeles is guilty of disobedience. The poor preacher, he too is disobedient because the Bible says that the herbs are for the healing of the nation. But it's not the preacher's fault either. The preacher was unaware that cyanide was changing the images in his vision. The imam, yes, the imam needs help because he still eats lamb and he eats barley. These things are very detrimental. The rabbi, likewise. What is needed today is what most people call a synthesis. But how could this come about? When I said synthesis, because there has to be some collective understanding to stop the violence. Because I remember when I was violent, and that was not precipitated out of me being bad. It was the food that was given to me that made me angry. It is the beef that was given to the cows in England that made them angry. Ladies and gentlemen, we all are stressed. This giving could only be afforded out of the carbon papers because the carbon papers came out of the path of Onghos. The path of Onghos prevents anyone from making mistakes. Mistakes are not made when one is traveling on the path of Onghos. The path of Onghos is the path that is designed by nature for that individual cell group. If that path is not followed and obeyed, there would be stress. Like example, I always give, the gorilla was not placed in Alaska. The gorilla was placed in Africa. But if the gorilla thinks that we are all one, like Homo sapiens always say, well, all the gorilla needs to do is to go to Alaska and sit on that piece of ice with the polar bear, and he would not be here pretty soon, isn't it? Likewise, if the gorilla ever make the mistake to eat the food of the polar bear, it would also take him out. And what do you think is happening to us? This is why the whole planet is angry, because one cell has gone astray. They call that what? The white corpuscles is proliferating. Why? Because the white corpuscle detects that the red cell has accepted a bacteria. It has to cleanse it out. But in cleaning the bacteria, it tends to eat the cell itself. So what do? We fix it by taking it back into its cosmic arrangement, into the cosmic balance. We're going to feed the body that mineral that is deficient. And there goes leukemia. The white corpuscle no longer is proliferating. We need healing. I need healing more than any one of you, because I am aware of my elasticity. I'll soon be 70 next year, and all the damage that has been done to me throughout the year that I indulged in eating those things that were acid, they have taken a toll on me, like they are taking a toll on you, my brothers and sisters, friends, and everyone else. Obedience to the laws of life. It is a thing that we have to go into it gradually. This isn't something that we're going to jump off into it immediately. Steps. But yes, prevent the starch. You begin a good journey. Prevent the uric acid, the carbonic acid, and the lactic acid. Free of those acids, those things that you're pursuing would immediately be given to you, just like they're given to me. Thank you very much. Thank you so very much.